Anna has patiently been waiting and has constantly been engaged and involved with this issue, even though he's not on our committee. So we welcome you. The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I do want to commend your staff for putting the report together. I think it identified a number of really important issues that not just face the 2017 or 2018 disasters, but certainly has identified some areas for improvement for the future disasters that we know are going to be coming. Mr. Chairman, I think it's noteworthy that since 1980, I believe we've had about 220 disasters that have cost our nation over $1 billion each, and we've spent about $1.5 trillion responding to these disasters. There is a better way. Whether it's the deaths, it's the money, there is a better way. As you know, we did pass a Disaster Reform and Recovery Act that the President has signed into law. I think that it did address a number of important issues, providing additional flexibility, providing you some additional tools, and I think better integration with the capabilities of state and local governments. But I want to be clear, we have more to do. Administrator, I do appreciate you being here, and I know you've got an incredibly tough job to do. Every disaster is unpredictable, and therefore trying to plan for that exact scenario is virtually impossible. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try, but it is virtually impossible. You and I have met a number of times, and I've expressed some frustration, and I believe you commented on some of those early on. In the disaster that we had in August of 2016, our flood, 1,000-year flood there, I've dealt with FEMA, the Corps of Engineers, with HUD, with SBA, with the United States Department of Agriculture, with the Coast Guard, and other agencies. It is incredible trying to deal with this whole alphabet soup of agencies while trying to deliver real, applicable, efficient solutions to disaster victims. Sure. One issue we're dealing with right now, FEMA under NFIP, is requiring that you have a certain freeboard for the elevation of homes, under an executive order that was issued under the previous administration that has since been rescinded. HUD requires, I believe it's a 2-foot higher freeboard. So if we're using CDBG-DR dollars to recover homes, somebody complied with a FEMA standard, all of a sudden you're no longer in compliance with a HUD standard that was put together after an executive order under the previous administration that has been rescinded. These people are now not eligible to get reimbursed for rebuilding their homes. Okay. That is one example of many that is idiotic, and it is actually re-victimizing our survivors from some of these disasters. We need to continue working on making sure we do a better job integrating the efforts of the various agencies or consolidating some of these efforts within your agency. On the flood insurance program, something that has been a very hot topic here. The state of Louisiana is at the bottom of one of the largest watersheds in the world. We drain from Montana to New York, 2 Canadian provinces, all down to Louisiana. Additional development sends more water into that watershed, into our communities, which makes us more vulnerable. Number 2, as a result of the Corps of Engineers' efforts to train the river, we've lost about 2,000 square miles of our coast, making the Gulf of Mexico that much closer to us. We've got vulnerabilities from the north, vulnerabilities from the south, neither of which our citizens had a damn thing to do with. How do I explain to our citizens that they're going to be charged higher flood insurance rates whenever they had absolutely no control over the additional vulnerability?
So, Congressman, first of all, the DRRA is transformational for our agency, and I think there's over 64 different provisions that we're trying to get through. You've made your intent very clear. I think we're we're both a cut of the same piece of cloth.
I think you and I are the only 2 nerds that care about that bill, but I'm excited.
I'm telling you, it truly is impressive, and I'm very thankful for it. I do think that it's going to do a lot of help. We've got a long way to go. We're both very passionate, and the definition of passion is the right amount of love and anger at the same time. I want to reduce the complexity. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I do think there needs to be a consolidation of disaster recovery funds coming down. But when it comes to the NFIP, what I would ask is that instead of extending it 1 week or extending it, 3 months, can we extend it a year, but make a commitment at the end of that year that we will truly make transformational changes to the NFIP rather than kicking that can down the road because the program is not financially solvent, it's broken, and I am trying to do the best with a program that needs to be fundamentally changed to account for affordability. And in some cases, maybe it's a transformational change in the entire industry. Why can't you get a policy that's all hazards to begin with?
Amen to everything you just said. I'm going to make those points on the House floor today when we try and extend this thing for 1 week. I agree with you 100%, but I'll tell you something else, Administrator, and I think your friend to your left is one that's really key on this. Flood insurance is defense. It's reactive, it's defense. One of the most cost-effective things we can do, based on countless studies, is bringing an offense to the table, making sure that these guys have the tools, the resources they need to be proactive. Under the DARA bill, as you know, we did the pre-disaster mitigation at the 6%, so we're trying to bring some offense there. Under the DARA bill, we try to provide some flexibility where HMGP can be used for core projects, but we have got to continue working, which, by the way, some of your staffers are fighting us on, but it's law. But we've got to continue to bring an offense to the table. You can't just have a defense like flood insurance program. It's financially unsustainable. I see my time. Mr. Chairman, I want to make 2 points. Number one, that disaster bill has a provision in there regarding duplication of benefits under the Stafford Act. There was a 45-day clock for the administration to make a decision on a waiver request for CDBGR, SBA duplication of benefits. It is 50-something days, and we have heard nothing. We have $250 million sitting in the bank. We have several thousand families that cannot get back into their homes or other financial duress. Some people have had to sell their homes. The money's in the bank. It's already been appropriated. This is all about complying with the law that is not being complied with today. This is a major issue that is affecting several thousand people. I want to ask you to please engage on this. This needs to be fixed. The timeline has been passed.
I hear you loud and clear.
Number two, we have a number of Louisiana contractors that are doing work on the STEP program in Virgin Islands. They have been waiting several months to be paid. Administrator, you're well aware that having additional competition and expertise in these programs is really important to deliver value to taxpayers and to have efficient solutions. We can't have those kind of response times for paying these contractors for work. It's going to prevent them from coming back in when you need their help in the future.
Yep, absolutely. I'll look into it. Typically, we would grant the money to the state, and it would be paid through the state or through the Virgin Islands government. So I'll check into that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know I'm over time. I just want to say to you that this committee's role in bringing all these agencies together, the flood insurance program, the Corps of Engineers, and many other resiliency programs and response programs, I think it's really important to make sure that we don't stop at the reforms that were just signed into law, but we continue moving forward. I think we can help save lives and save money, and I appreciate you holding this hearing and allowing us to be here.
Well, I thank the gentleman, and I thank you for your persistent interest in this. Even though you are not on this committee, you would not know it from the number of times you have mentioned the issues to me on the floor, and for that, I am grateful. Major Gilman.